In the Tenere Desert of northern Niger, over 1,000 kilometers from the nearest paved highway, aid workers and smugglers alike rely on one vehicle to survive the crossing: a Toyota Land Cruiser, often decades old, running an engine that has never seen a diagnostic computer or an authorized dealership. Temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius. Fuel quality is inconsistent at best. Sand infiltrates everything. And yet these engines keep running, sometimes for 30 years and 500,000 kilometers, long after European and American vehicles sent into the same conditions have been abandoned as scrap. So what did Toyota's engineers actually do differently, and why did they do it decades before anyone was thinking specifically about the Sahara? The story begins not in Africa, but in Toyota's own domestic testing philosophy of the 1970s and 1980s, a period when the company was expanding aggressively into export markets defined by conditions Japan itself never experienced. Toyota's engineers understood early that a vehicle designed purely for Japanese roads and Japanese climate would fail catastrophically the moment it left the country for markets like the Middle East, Australia, and eventually North Africa. Rather than treating these export markets as an afterthought, Toyota built dedicated testing programs specifically simulating the worst conditions those markets could produce, and the Land Cruiser became the vehicle where those lessons accumulated most visibly. The engine at the center of the Land Cruiser's desert reputation is the 1HZ, a naturally aspirated inline-six diesel introduced in 1990, though its design philosophy traces back through earlier Land Cruiser diesel engines that established the same core priorities decades before. Why diesel specifically, and why naturally aspirated rather than turbocharged? The answer starts with fuel quality. Diesel fuel across much of Africa and the Middle East historically arrived contaminated with water, sediment, and inconsistent refining standards that would destroy a precision gasoline engine's fuel injection system within a matter of months. Diesel combustion is inherently more tolerant of fuel impurities than gasoline combustion, and Toyota's engineers leaned into that tolerance rather than fighting it, designing every component of the 1HZ's fuel system with wide manufacturing tolerances specifically. So it could keep running on fuel that would be considered unusable by European or American standards. The injection system itself tells the deeper story. Where competing manufacturers were beginning to explore electronic diesel injection through the 1990s, chasing the efficiency and emissions gains that technology promised, Toyota kept the 1HZ running a purely mechanical inline injection pump for the entirety of its production life. This looked, to outside observers, like Toyota falling behind the technological curve. In reality, it was a deliberate engineering choice rooted in exactly the operating environment the Land Cruiser was built for. A mechanical injection pump has no sensitive electronics to fail from extreme heat, no wiring harness that dust and sand infiltration can corrode, and critically, it can be serviced and even partially repaired by a mechanic with basic hand tools and no factory diagnostic equipment whatsoever. In the middle of the Sahara, 1,000 kilometers from the nearest dealership, that difference isn't a technical footnote. It's the difference between a stranded vehicle and one that keeps moving. Why did Toyota prioritize that kind of field repairability over the efficiency gains electronic injection offered? Because the company's engineers, through decades of export market testing, had internalized a principle that European manufacturers largely hadn't. In the markets where the Land Cruiser needed to survive, downtime wasn't an inconvenience, it was potentially fatal. A broken down vehicle in the Sahara, or in the remote regions of the Sahel, where the Land Cruiser became the standard vehicle for aid organizations, military convoys, and long-distance traders, could mean days without water or shelter before help arrived. Toyota built the entire 1HZ around the assumption that it needed to be repairable anywhere, by anyone, with whatever tools happened to be available. The engine's internal engineering reinforced this same philosophy at every level. Toyota used a cast iron block for the 1HZ, a decision that added weight compared to the aluminum architecture becoming increasingly common elsewhere in the industry, but one that provided structural rigidity under the kind of sustained thermal cycling the Sahara's temperature extremes would produce. Desert operation means an engine block heating dramatically under direct sun and extreme ambient temperature during the day, then cooling rapidly during cold desert nights, a thermal cycling pattern that can gradually warp aluminum components and cause head gasket failures in engines not specifically engineered to withstand it. Cast iron's greater thermal mass and dimensional stability under these swings meant the 1HZ's cylinder bores maintained their geometry across thousands of these heat cycles, in a way an aluminum block engineered primarily for temperate climates simply couldn't match. Cooling system design followed the same overbuilt logic. Toyota equipped the Land Cruiser's diesel engines with oversized radiators and cooling capacity that dramatically exceeded what the engine's own heat output would typically require in normal operating conditions. This wasn't inefficiency for its own sake. It was margin, deliberately engineered in for the scenario where everything went wrong simultaneously. Extreme ambient heat, A vehicle loaded far beyond its rated capacity with passengers and cargo, sustained low-speed operation through soft sand where airflow across the radiator drops dramatically, and prolonged idling at border checkpoints or repair stops. An engine cooling system sized for average conditions would overheat and fail in the Sahara. Toyota engineered for the worst realistic day, not the average one. Air filtration received similar obsessive attention, and for good reason. Sand and fine desert dust represent one of the most destructive forces an internal combustion engine can face, capable of working through inadequate filtration and acting as an abrasive that grinds away at cylinder walls, piston rings, hand-bearing surfaces far faster than normal wear would ever produce. Toyota equipped Land Cruiser diesel engines with multi-stage air filtration systems, and in many desert market configurations, added pre-filters and cyclonic dust separators designed specifically to strip the majority of airborne sand and grit out of the intake air before it ever reached the engine's primary filter element. Owners and mechanics operating in the Sahara and Sahel regions have long treated the frequency and quality of air filter maintenance as the single most important factor, determining whether a Land Cruiser diesel reaches 500,000 kilometers or fails prematurely, and Toyota's original filtration architecture gave operators far more margin for error than competing designs offered. Why does the Land Cruiser specifically dominate this market so completely, rather than simply being one reliable option among several? Part of the answer is decades of accumulated trust built through exactly the kind of extreme, well-documented survival stories that spread by word of mouth across trade routes and aid organization networks long before formal marketing ever entered the picture. United Nations agencies, the International Committee of the Red Cross, and countless smaller NGOs operating across the Sahel standardized on the Land Cruiser specifically because field experience across decades demonstrated it could be kept running under conditions that destroyed other vehicles, and because that same mechanical simplicity meant local drivers and mechanics could maintain and repair the vehicles without depending on organizations flying in specialized technicians. That institutional adoption created a self-reinforcing cycle remarkably similar to what happened with Japanese diesel engines across the rest of Africa's used vehicle market more broadly. Because aid organizations, militaries, and long-haul traders across North and West Africa standardized on the Land Cruiser, parts, availability, and mechanical expertise concentrated around this one specific vehicle platform far more deeply than around any competing model. A mechanic in Agadez or Timbuktu is far more likely to have deep, hands-on experience with a 1HZ engine specifically than with any comparable Land Rover or Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon diesel, simply because he's worked on dozens of Land Cruisers for every one of the alternatives that occasionally passes through. That concentrated expertise makes the Land Cruiser even more practical to keep running in the field, which reinforces the next buyer's decision to choose the same vehicle, deepening a cycle that is now compounded for well over 3 decades. There's also a design philosophy question worth examining directly. Why didn't Toyota's competitors build something equally suited to these conditions? Land Rover, whose Defender models had actually established an earlier reputation in extreme African conditions through the mid-20th century, gradually shifted toward more sophisticated, electronically dependent engineering through the 1990s and 2000s as European emissions and comfort expectations evolved, a shift that improved the vehicles for European buyers, while making them progressively less suited to Saharan field repair conditions. Mercedes-Benz's G-Wagon carried genuine off-road capability, but was engineered, priced, and distributed as a premium vehicle rather than a rugged workhorse, and its increasingly complex electronics, through later generations, created exactly the kind of field repair vulnerabilities Toyota had specifically engineered the Land Cruiser to avoid. Toyota, uniquely among major manufacturers, maintained a dedicated, deliberately unsophisticated diesel Land Cruiser variant, specifically for markets like the Sahara, long after most competitors had shifted their engineering priorities toward markets where electronic sophistication and emissions compliance mattered more than field repairability. The result of all these compounding decisions, fuel system tolerance, mechanical rather than electronic injection, cast iron thermal stability, oversized cooling margin, aggressive multi-stage filtration, and 3 decades of concentrated local mechanical expertise, is an engine that has become something close to essential infrastructure across some of the most demanding operating environments on the planet. Toyota's engineers weren't specifically imagining smugglers crossing the Tenere or aid convoys reaching remote refugee settlements when they were originally testing early Land Cruiser diesels through the 1970s and 1980s. They were solving for extreme heat, poor fuel quality, dust, and long distances from service infrastructure as general export market problems. But the Sahara, more than almost anywhere else on Earth, represents the purest possible test of exactly those conditions simultaneously, and the 1HZ and the diesel Land Cruiser engines that came before and after it passed that test so decisively that an entire continent's worth of operators, from United Nations logistics coordinators to informal cross-border traders, arrived independently at the same conclusion. When the vehicle absolutely has to keep running with no backup plan and no nearby help, it's a Toyota diesel under the hood. That reputation wasn't built through marketing. It was built one impossible desert crossing at a time, across 30 years of engines that simply refused to stop.